Okay, yeah, let's make another one. D&D 5e and Pathfinder 2e. Incredibly similar systems on the surface, but once you pop the hood open, you realize you don't know how to fix this car. It's a weird analogy, but I'm gonna go with it. While they're both high fantasy role-playing games that use ability scores and levels, the actual gears that make them work are incredibly different. So we're gonna do 5 more major differences between Pathfinder 2e and D&D 5e. I do sincerely want to say thank you to everybody who has supported the channel this past month. This growth has been explosive to say the least, and by far the part of it I'm most proud of is that 5 major differences video. So thank you, and again, I'll say it, if you want to see more videos like this one, even more differences, because trust me, I could make at least 10 videos in this series, leave a like and a comment, and maybe even subscribe to the channel to see more. But you see, there is something important here. Before we can talk about the 5 major differences, we gotta talk about today's sponsor. LoreMaster.io has been my go-to campaign manager for the better part of about 1.5 to 2 years now. It is such a different, unique take on the classic campaign organizer for your tabletop role-playing game. I'm a person who doesn't like doing too much prep, and at the same time, I'm a very visual person. Thus, pages upon pages of notes just get lost on me. The reason I love LoreMaster so much is because of their unique node system. On LoreMaster, you can set up a whole map of nodes. For me, I like to set up nodes for each of the cities in my campaign. Clicking on one of those nodes takes me into that city to another set of nodes with things like important NPCs and notable locations. You can see here in my town of Erinport, I have the NPC Captain Kurdek and the Rusty Tankard Tavern. Just clicking one of these takes me to the appropriate notes page. So rather than sifting through tabs or trying to flip through a notebook, I can just click the appropriate nodes, especially if I already know which city my players are in, and get the information I need just like that. On top of the node system, they've recently improved their Pathfinder 2e stat blocks, meaning you can now copy-paste almost perfectly from Archives of Nethys. So let's say my players are going to face some dire wolves next session. Well, all I have to do is create a new PF2 stat block, open dire wolves on Archives of Nethys, copy everything from the name to the bottom of their abilities, and boom, just paste it right into the stat block, and it's pretty much perfect. LoreMaster.io is still in open beta, so if you want to get access to this early, go ahead and use the link in the description to join their Patreon for as little as $4 a month, or only $40 a year if you pay annually. It really is a phenomenal option for people who are looking for a different type of campaign manager. Like I said, the visual learner in me really appreciates the nodes. It makes everything so much more tangible. So thank you LoreMaster.io for sponsoring this video. Let's talk differences. Difference number 1, monsters. This information is important both for players and GMs. Monsters in Pathfinder 2e are a lot more than just a stat block. In fact, pretty much every monster in the game comes with at least one special ability. While a D&D 5e zombie is pretty much just going to punch you to death, the Pathfinder 2e zombie is going to punch you, follow that up with a free grapple, and then if it still has you grappled, it's going to start biting you with a stronger attack. And that's something that's incredibly helpful about these special abilities, is it tells you how the monster likes to fight. You can see that in order for the zombie to use its jaws, it needs to have you grabbed. Well, luckily, its fist attack automatically grabs on a success. So what's the zombie going to try to do? It's going to try to punch you, wrap around, and eat your neck. Additionally, Pathfinder 2e monsters always have a weak link of some kind, whether it's a low armor class, a low fortitude, reflex, or will save, or maybe something more unique like a golem's anti-magic. The stat blocks between the two systems honestly aren't that different aside from their layout. The big difference is that while D&D's stat blocks are in a nice little even square, Pathfinder stat blocks tend to curve to the artwork of the page. This isn't inherently a bad thing, but I do personally prefer the 5e stat blocks as they're just a little more organized. But where Pathfinder 2e absolutely takes the cake is with their version of challenge rating. It's not an uncommon opinion to say challenge rating is worthless. It sometimes feels totally random, and sometimes a difficult encounter from the challenge rating is actually a complete joke, where a weak challenge rating encounter could actually TPK the party because there's not a whole lot of consistency. Meanwhile, Pathfinder 2e's version of challenge rating is actually based on party level. This is best seen in something like the Ancient Red Dragon. In D&D 5e, an Ancient Red Dragon is challenge rating 24. What does that mean? I really have no idea. But in Pathfinder 2nd edition, an Ancient Red Dragon is creature level 19. This means it is a moderate threat for a group of level 17 characters. Pathfinder 2e's encounter XP budget system is so intuitive and easy because it doesn't change from level to level. You can see that no matter what level your character is, it only takes 1,000 experience to level up. But the amount of XP you receive from a monster is based on their level relative to yours. So, if you're a level 5 character, then killing a level 5 creature is worth 40 experience. And if you're level 12 and kill a level 12 creature, it's worth 40 experience. And then you just follow this table as a GM to establish anything between a trivial to an extreme encounter based on the total XP worth of enemies. It's made encounter building so easy, and it's one of my favorite things that doesn't get talked about much in this system. Just keep in mind when using the XP budget that it's based on a party of 4, and if you have more or less than 4 players, follow the character adjustment and add it for more players or subtract it for less players. Difference number 2. Alright, if you can only take one thing away from this video, take this. Survival in Pathfinder 2e does not mean avoiding damage. If you come into this expecting to play like your D&D character whose armor class is so high they rarely get hit, it's not going to work. Even the most min-maxed character is going to take a hit more often than not. And the biggest issue I've seen with people who want to play a bulky frontliner is they keep taking damage and they get irritated. They feel like the character they've built is failing because their plate mail tower shield champion is still getting hit every turn. Clearly this character sucks because I'm taking damage. This is not how it works in Pathfinder 2e. Let me use 2 similar creatures as an example. It's not hard to start with 18 armor class in D&D 5e if you have a shield and good armor. A Goblin Warrior only has a +3 to hit you, meaning it's only hitting you on a 15 or higher. Meanwhile, that same Goblin in Pathfinder 2e, creature level -1, has a +8 to hit you. This thing is hitting you on a 10 or higher if you have an 18 armor class. An 18 armor class is not bad in Pathfinder 2e. I think 19 is the highest min-maxed starting armor you can get. This means 50% of the time, you're taking a hit from that level -1 goblin. Now this sounds rough and kind of scary, but keep this in mind. Your wizard in the backline might have an armor class of 14, meaning this goblin hits them on a 6 or higher, and critically hits them on a 16 or higher. When a creature is attacking you, the high armor class tank instead, sure, you're taking a hit, but you're taking a hit that A, might have critically hit your ally, and B, would have hit your ally for damage that they have less hit points to absorb anyway. Being a bulky frontliner in Pathfinder 2e is about taking the damage for your allies, and hopefully taking more normal hits than critical hits. I need to stress this, because I've seen multiple times new players get irritated and stop having fun simply because they weren't aware this is how it works. But let me be very clear. If you are a frontliner, and you fall unconscious, you are doing your job, because that 25 damage that knocked you down could have easily knocked down your wizard and your sorcerer both in the same number of attacks. Armor class in Pathfinder 2e is not about avoiding hits. It's about avoiding crits. Difference number 3 is a pretty simple one that gets more nuanced the more you look into it, and that is the multiple attack penalty. In case you're unaware, characters don't get extra attacks at certain levels like you do in D&D 5th edition. Rather, you always have 3 actions, and right at level 1, even as a wizard, you could make 3 melee attacks right in a row. This is balanced by the fact that your second attack will be at -5, and your third attack will be at -10 to hit. This is known as the multiple attack penalty. And with the exception of a few niche characters like the Flurry Ranger, going for that third attack every turn is not a great idea. When your attack bonus is a +6 and you're taking a -10, you're probably not gonna hit. However, manipulating that multiple attack penalty is half the battle. There are a lot of feats and abilities available to a lot of different classes that let them circumvent or reduce this penalty, like the aforementioned Flurry Ranger. Instead of taking a -5 per attack, they only take a -3. Hell, if they're using a light weapon like a dagger, they only take a -2. Or maybe a dual-wielding fighter will use Double Slice. This lets them attack twice at the same time at the same bonus. Sure, it increases their penalty by 2, but only after they've made their 2 attacks and gotten around that multiple attack penalty. On the other hand, you can try to circumvent that penalty entirely by not using as many attack actions. Spellcasters actually have a really good opportunity to take advantage of this. If you are something like a druid with a short bow, then for your first 2 actions, you could cast something like Electric Arc. That's a saving throw spell. Because the spell does not require an attack roll from you, it does not increase your multiple attack penalty. So after casting Electric Arc, you could take a shot with your short bow. Electric Arc is just as efficient as it always is, and your short bow is at your full bonus, letting you do 2 different offensive options, and letting your spellcaster use a weapon on the same turn as they cast a spell, which is awesome, and that's available right at level 1. On the subject of avoiding that dreaded third attack at -10, let's go into difference number 4, and that is skills in combat. In D&D 5e, I really hate saying it, skills are almost worthless in combat. It's very rare that, in my experience, anybody will ever roll a skill outside of maybe athletics in combat. And even then, it's usually when an enemy has an ability that tries to knock you down that you make a contested athletics check. And part of this is just due to skill actions in D&D not being that effective. Hell, grappling, shoving, and tripping in 5e just isn't worth much when they can just stand back up. But in Pathfinder 2e, there's a ton of actions available to everybody, and even more actions available to people with certain trained proficiency in skills that you can use on your turn. And here, real quick, I'm going to go over some of my favorite skill actions that you can take in combat on any character, even if you're untrained. Now, obviously, if you're untrained, these are going to be more difficult to succeed, but at least they're not going to be at a -4 like your multiple attack. I'm going to start with the most popular skill action, and that's Demoralize. Demoralize is just so powerful, and again, it's available to everybody, even if you're untrained in Intimidation. Using an Intimidation check, if you succeed, a target becomes Frightened 1. And Frightened is one of the most powerful conditions in the game because it gives them a -1 to everything. Attack rolls, armor class, saving throws, skill checks, all of those take a -1 until the end of its next turn. Meaning if it just went and you successfully demoralize it, that means its armor class is dropped by 1, not just for you, but for the rest of your party. If you plan to attack in the turn and you don't have anything else planned for that third action, demoralize first. If you succeed, you're going to reduce its armor class, making your other 2 attacks even more accurate. Create a diversion. Look, what's that over there? With a deception check, if you succeed, you are considered hidden from that target until the end of your current turn. Now that might not sound like a long time, but what's important is this lets you make an attack while hidden. Sure, this breaks your hidden condition, but the target is flat-footed to that attack. This is one of the only reliable ways to get flat-footed on a ranged attack. If you are a rogue with a short bow, you can create a diversion, become hidden, and then make a ranged attack against them. They're flat-footed, you hit, boom, sneak attack damage. Alternatively, if you've already got cover, you can make use of the hide action. As long as you are behind cover between you and your target, you can just roll a stealth check, and if you succeed, you become hidden. Once again, you can make an attack roll, the target is flat-footed, it breaks your hidden condition, but the glory of hide is that because you're still behind cover, you could just hide again. This is literally you walking up to cover, ducking down, poking up and taking a shot, and ducking back down. Hide, ranged attack, hide is an amazing, repeatable combo if you're someone who needs that extra accuracy or a rogue who needs sneak attack. The final skill action I'll cover here today is Recall Knowledge. This is one that a lot of people are afraid to do because it doesn't directly deal damage or make you more accurate, and it's a little bit GM dependent. But usually a successful Recall Knowledge will at least get you weaknesses or resistances of the thing you're fighting, and if you have a nice GM like me, they'll likely also tell you their highest or lowest saving throw. So if I tell you that troll looks incredibly sturdy, you might not want to use something with a fortitude save. But if I let you know it seems a bit dull-minded, you might know, oh, will save's the way to go. And finally, the fifth big difference deserves its own video, and that's why it's going to get one. But I will go over the very bare basics here, because I'm talking about the World of Golarion and the Inner Sea region. This world is touted by most Pathfinder players as one of the best parts of the system. The world is insane, the lore goes so deep, and there's so much to cover. People have been asking me to cover lore for a long time, and pretty soon y'all are gonna get it, so just be patient. So why is the lore so good? Why do I recommend the world as one of the 5 major differences? Well, first off, it's got a lot of analogous settings to what you're used to in something like Forgotten Realms. If you're used to running something in a place like Waterdeep, consider using the city of Absalom, which is a massive city on an island and the biggest city in the region. Speaking of the region, known as the Inner Sea, this is the main primary location of Pathfinder 2e and all of its pre-written content. There's plenty of world beyond it on the planet of Golarion, but the system focuses primarily on the Inner Sea region. This is one location, roughly 3,000 miles north to south, and probably about 1,500 to 2,000 miles east to west. For reference, that's about the size of the United States of America, give or take. And this one region has countless different climates and cultures, allowing you to run so many different types of adventure, or have one adventure experience a multitude of different genres. Imagine, if you would, the United States of America. Now, imagine that New England is covered in a permanent Arctic climate with primal megafauna roaming the land. Imagine Texas is just a massive jungle. The Midwest is a set of plains and forests constantly contested by various kingdoms and cities. Imagine that New York City was actually placed off the coast in the middle of the ocean. North Dakota is inhabited by sentient living dead, and Nevada is mostly desert. Wait a minute. What I'm trying to say is that any kind of climate or culture you're looking for can be found somewhere in the Inner Sea region, meaning you can run exactly the adventure you want, and Pathfinder will have something pre-written to help you flesh it out. The world is amazing, and I can't wait to start breaking it down for y'all in the near future. But for now, those are my 5 biggest difference between Pathfinder and D&D 5e. Again, let me know if you want to see more. Likes, subscriptions, and comments below are the best way to tell me that I need to make more of these. I've got some awesome plans, but I want to make sure y'all actually want those videos. I want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members, and unfortunately you might notice the names aren't on screen anymore. That's because there's like 200 of you now, and I don't know how to fit it all on screen or do it in such a way that it doesn't take me an hour and a half to update. I'll figure out how to do that in the future, or leave me some ideas in the comments below, but for now, I'll just give you a heartfelt thank you. Your financial support is what helps me keep doing what I'm doing. If you would also like to support the channel, there's a big join button beneath the video. Thank you all so very much for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video. And until next time, no nat ones.